Welcome back to Echoes of Centuries, the channel where we journey through time to explore the fascinating stories and events that have shaped our world. Today, we're setting our time machines to the year 0 CE, a pivotal moment that sits at the crossroads of ancient history. While the concept of year zero is more of a modern construct, this period is rich with cultural, political, and social transformations that would lay the foundation for civilizations to come. In this episode, we'll traverse the Americas, cast a glimpse upon the vast Roman Empire, witness the early days of the Silk Road, and explore the intellectual hubs of ancient India and China. We'll delve into the lives of the people, the advancements in technology, and the philosophical ideas that were ahead of their time. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a spectacular tour of the world in the year 0 CE. And trust me, you won't want to miss a second of it. Our exploration of the Americas in the year 0 CE starts in the arid plains of modern-day Peru, where the Nazca culture was leaving its indelible mark on the landscape. The Nazca are most famous for their enigmatic geoglyphs, known as the Nazca lines. These aren't just simple drawings, they're massive designs etched into the desert floor, covering areas as large as a football field. Animals, plants, and geometric shapes come to life in these lines. While their exact purpose remains a mystery, theories range from religious ceremonies to astronomical markers. Beyond the lines, the Nazca were skilled potters and weavers, creating intricate designs that give us insights into their daily life and beliefs. As we move northward, the lush rainforests of Mesoamerica beckon us. Here, the Maya civilization was in its nascent stages, particularly in the city-state of Tikal. Tikal, around this time, was not the sprawling metropolis it would later become. The pyramids were still modest, and the grand plazas were yet to be built. But the early rulers had grand visions. They were laying the architectural and spiritual foundations for a city that would eventually dominate the region. The Maya were also developing a complex writing system, one of the most sophisticated in the pre-Columbian Americas. Their calendar and mathematical systems were in their infancy, but were already showing signs of the ingenuity that would later allow them to make astonishingly accurate astronomical predictions. Further north in the eastern United States, the Hopewell tradition was another civilization in its formative stages. Centered around the Ohio River Valley, the Hopewell were not a single tribe or a unified empire, but a network of interacting communities. They are renowned for their earthworks, massive mounds and intricate enclosures often built in the shapes of animals or complex geometric figures. These weren't just random shapes, they were carefully planned constructions that required a deep understanding of geometry and a coordinated community effort. The Hopewell were also traders, part of an extensive network that spanned hundreds of miles. Artifacts found in Hopewell sites include materials like obsidian from the Rocky Mountains and shells from the Gulf Coast, indicating a level of interconnectivity that challenges our traditional views of pre-Columbian North America. While the Nazca, Maya, and Hopewell cultures never had direct contact with each other, they were all independently developing complex societies within their respective regions. What unites them across these vast distances is their deep inspiration from the natural world around them. The Nazca lines, possibly a tribute to natural or celestial forces, were etched into the desert floor, capturing the essence of their arid environment. The Maya, in the heart of the rainforest, looked to the skies and aligned their cities and spiritual practices with the cosmos. The Hopewell, situated in the diverse ecosystems of the Ohio River Valley, shaped the Earth into intricate mounds and enclosures, possibly reflecting their cosmological beliefs. Each of these civilizations, in isolation from one another, found unique ways to understand, honor, and integrate the natural world into their complex societies. Now let's cross the Atlantic and set our sights on the Old World, where empires were rising and cultures were colliding. Religions were taking root, and the Silk Road was weaving a network of cultural and economic exchange that would shape civilizations for centuries to come. As we set foot in the Old World, let's first turn our gaze to ancient West Africa, a region often overlooked but rich in history and culture. Around this time, the Nok culture, known for its remarkable terracotta sculptures, was in its period of final decline. Yet, even as one chapter was closing, another was beginning with the introduction of the camel to the region. This hardy animal would soon become the linchpin of the burgeoning trans-Saharan trade network, connecting West Africa with the Mediterranean world. In the Sahara and Sahel, various tribes and early kingdoms were taking shape, such as the Garamantes in present-day Libya and the early Soninka communities that would later form the foundation of the Ghana Empire. These societies were often organized around oasis settlements and were becoming increasingly involved in long-distance trade. It's worth noting that Cornelius Balbus, a Roman general, led an expedition into this region, marking one of the earliest recorded interactions between the Roman world and sub-Saharan Africa. In the year 0 CE, the Roman Empire was at the height of its power under the rule of an aging Caesar Augustus. Having come to power in 27 BCE, Augustus had overseen a period of relative stability and expansion known as the Pax Romana, or Roman peace. His reign had transformed Rome from a republic fraught with civil wars into an empire with an efficient bureaucracy and a professional army. The empire's territorial extent was vast, stretching from the Atlantic shores of Gaul, modern-day France, in the west, to the fertile lands of Egypt and Syria in the east. Augustus was not just a military leader, he was a shrewd administrator and a patron of the arts. He famously claimed to have found Rome a city of bricks and left it a city of marble. His achievements included the reorganization of the Roman legions, the establishment of a police force, fire brigade, and a standing army in Rome. He also initiated large-scale building projects, including the construction of the Forum of Augustus and the Ara Pacis, an altar dedicated to peace. However, the empire was not without its concerns. Augustus was growing old, and there was increasing anxiety in Rome about what would happen after his death. The question of succession was a pressing issue. Tiberius, his stepson, was being prepared to take over the reins of the empire. Augustus had adopted Tiberius in 4 CE, and the latter had already begun to assume important military commands, signaling his future role. Despite its grandeur and sophistication, the Roman Empire was not invincible. This would become painfully clear in the year 9 CE, when Roman legions faced a crushing defeat at the hands of Germanic tribes in the Teutoburg forest. This loss exposed the vulnerabilities of the empire and served as a reminder that Rome's reach had its limits. It was a humbling experience that would haunt the Romans for years to come and put a halt to Rome's expansion into Germania. Considering the barbarians of Europe, it's worth turning our gaze northward to the lands that Rome could not conquer. In the forests of Germania, a coalition of Germanic tribes led by Arminius, a chieftain of the Cherusci tribe, successfully resisted Roman expansion. Arminius, who had once served in the Roman army, used his knowledge of Roman tactics to lead his warriors to a stunning victory at the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in 9 CE. Life among the Germanic tribes was markedly different from that in Rome. They lived in small, scattered villages, often near rivers or forests, and relied on a combination of agriculture and hunting. Social structure was clan-based, and their religious practices were deeply tied to the natural world, featuring a pantheon of gods and goddesses associated with natural elements. Further west, the Brythonic Celts inhabited what is now modern-day Britain. While still independent at this time, their fate would soon change with the Roman invasion under Emperor Claudius in 43 CE. The Celts had a rich oral tradition, and their society was organized into tribes led by chieftains. They were skilled metal workers, producing intricate jewelry and weaponry, and their religious practices often took place in natural settings like forests and groves. Despite their resistance to Roman rule, both the Germanic tribes and the Brythonic Celts engaged in trade with the Roman Empire. Even areas never under Roman control, like Ireland and parts of modern-day Denmark, were part of extensive trade networks. Goods like amber, furs, and slaves flowed southward, while Roman goods like wine, olive oil, and luxury items made their way north. In the eastern territories of the Roman Empire, the melding of cultures and traditions created a unique and intricate social landscape. Egypt, under Roman rule since 30 BCE, was a prime example. The Nile Delta was the empire's breadbasket, and Alexandria was a bustling center of commerce and intellectual activity. The Library of Alexandria was a beacon of learning, housing scrolls from across the known world. Roman governance brought challenges, including heavy taxation, and Egyptians had to navigate a system that combined Roman law, Hellenistic culture, and ancient Egyptian traditions. Temples to Egyptian gods stood alongside Roman administrative buildings, and Greek was the common language in markets and ports. Shifting our focus to Judea, the complexities deepen. Rome had installed Herod as a client king to maintain stability. Herod's rule was marked by grand building projects, but also by a heavy-handed approach that often inflamed local tensions. Judea was a hotbed of religious fervor and political dissent, and it was in this context that Jesus was likely born between 6–4 BCE. While secular historians know little about his early life, events like his baptism by John the Baptist and his crucifixion are widely considered historical. The first Christians emerged in this volatile setting. Initially a small sect within Judaism, they were part of a diverse religious landscape that included Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes. Early Christian practices and beliefs often confused first-century Romans, but despite incidents of persecution, Christianity began to grow within the Roman Empire. Over the next few centuries, it would attract a following that transcended social and ethnic boundaries, setting the stage for its later significance in Western history. As we traverse the landscapes of ancient civilizations, one thread that weaves them all together is trade. The Silk Road, a network of trade routes that connected the East and West, was not just an overland path. It also included maritime routes that facilitated the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures. This intricate web of commerce was the lifeblood of many empires and kingdoms, some of which we'll explore next. In the heart of Eurasia lay the Parthian Empire, a formidable power that stood as a bulwark against Roman expansion. Parthia was unique in its successful resistance to Rome, making it the only large empire to do so. Its strategic location along the Silk Road made it a crucial player in Eurasian trade, acting as a conduit for goods moving between the East and West. The Parthians were followers of Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions. Fire temples dedicated to Ahura Mazda, the supreme god, dotted the landscape, and the religion influenced the empire's legal and social systems. Relations between Parthia and Rome were often tense, marked by a series of conflicts known as the Roman-Parthian Wars. Despite these struggles, Parthia maintained its independence and continued to thrive as a center of commerce and culture. Further south, the Arabian Peninsula was home to several kingdoms that profited immensely from Red Sea trade. The Kingdom of Saba was one such power, known for its wealth and influence. However, by this period, Saba had been conquered by its Himyarite rivals, signaling a shift in the balance of power in the region. Rome also made its presence felt here. An expedition in 25 BCE failed to conquer the area, but succeeded in opening up the Red Sea for trade with India. This maritime route would become increasingly important, allowing for the exchange of spices, textiles, and other valuable goods. Let's take a moment to cross the Red Sea and explore East Africa, specifically the Kingdom of Aksum. Situated in what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea, Aksum was a vital participant in the Indian Ocean trade network. Its ports acted as bustling hubs that connected the subcontinent with the Arabian Peninsula and the Mediterranean world. Intriguingly, Aksum's ruler, Zoskalis, received a Greek education, a testament to the far-reaching influence of Greco-Roman civilization. This educational background not only enriched the kingdom's own cultural tapestry, but also served as a poignant example of how interconnected the ancient world truly was. Before we set sail for the Indian subcontinent, let's linger a bit longer on the African coast. International trade networks extended far beyond Aksum, reaching as far south as Rapta, located in present-day Tanzania. Rapta was renowned for its exports of tortoise shell, a highly prized commodity in various ancient markets. This southeastern part of Africa was known to the Greeks and Romans as Oceania, a name that evokes the region's engagement with the broader Mediterranean world. Additionally, this period saw the Bantu migration, a significant movement of peoples from the Congo region eastward to the Indian Ocean. This migration led to the spread of Bantu languages and cultures, further enriching African cultures and their interactions with neighboring regions. As we journey further east, we arrive at the Indian subcontinent, a land of incredible diversity and cultural richness. During its classical period spanning from 200 BCE to 600 CE, India was far from a unified entity. Instead, it was a mosaic of states, each with its own distinct language, religious practices, and governance. In the northern frontier, the Indo-Greek kingdom was making its last stand against the invading Saka tribes, commonly referred to as the northern satraps. While the Indo-Greek kingdom eventually succumbed, its Hellenistic influence endured. Coins bearing Greek inscriptions continued to be minted, and elements of Greek art and philosophy were absorbed into local traditions, leaving an indelible mark on the region's cultural landscape. Central to the subcontinent was the Satavahana Empire, a formidable power that could arguably be considered the most extensive Indian polity of the period. Although the Satavahanas were primarily Hindu, they were also patrons of Buddhist architecture and philosophy. They undertook significant construction projects, including the renovation of the renowned Buddhist stupa at Sanchi. This era also saw the emergence of Mahayana Buddhism, a school that diverged from the earlier Theravada teachings. One of its groundbreaking doctrines was the idea that enlightenment and Buddhahood were attainable by all, a belief that would later spread to various parts of Asia. In the southern reaches of the subcontinent, the Tamil regions stood apart both culturally and politically. Dominated by the Chola and Pandyan kingdoms, this area maintained its sovereignty, resisting northern influence. Tamil culture was a vibrant tapestry of literature, art, and maritime prowess, making it distinct from the rest of India. To round off our exploration of India, let's turn our attention to the Indian Ocean trade network. This intricate web of maritime routes connected India with far-flung regions like Africa, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, a Greek text written around 50 CE, serves as a testament to the significance of this trade. It offers a detailed account of the various goods exchanged, the ports frequented, and the navigational techniques employed, underscoring the global interconnectedness of the ancient world. As we venture further east, we find ourselves in the captivating realm of Southeast Asia, a region that experienced a profound cultural transformation through peaceful interactions with South India. The Indianization of Southeast Asia was not an overnight phenomenon, but a gradual process that left an indelible imprint on the region's religious and cultural landscape. In Indonesia, although the majority of the area was still in its prehistoric phase, Indianized chiefdoms were emerging. A first-century statue of Ganesh, discovered on Panaitan Island, serves as a tangible testament to the early influence of Hinduism in the archipelago. Moving northward, we come across the enigmatic kingdom of Funan, situated in what is now Cambodia. The origins of Funan and its people are shrouded in mystery and subject to ongoing scholarly debate. Were they of Mon Khmer origin, or were they a melting pot of diverse ethnicities? One of the most captivating figures in Funan's history is Queen Soma, its first ruler. According to legend, Queen Soma initially attacked an Indian trade ship, but was so taken by the captain's courage that she chose to marry him. This romantic tale symbolizes the intricate relationships that Funan maintained with foreign powers, oscillating between conflict and alliance. While Funan's own historical records are scant, we are fortunate to have detailed accounts from Chinese travelers who visited the kingdom. These writings offer invaluable glimpses into Funan's social structure, governance, and particularly its economy. Further east, in present-day Vietnam, lies the city once known to the Greeks as Kattigara, now identified as Ok Io. The unearthing of a substantial cache of Roman coins in this city highlights Funan's economic significance. As Southeast Asia's first major economy, Funan was deeply engaged in international trade. It was a key exporter of precious commodities like gold, ivory, and exotic spices such as cardamom and cinnamon, which were highly sought after in distant markets. As we journey further east, we find ourselves in the magnificent realm of Imperial China, a civilization that stood as a beacon of innovation, governance, and culture. At the turn of the 1st century, China was undergoing a period of intense political upheaval. The Han dynasty, which had ruled for 2 centuries, was briefly interrupted by the Qin dynasty under Emperor Wang Mang. Wang Mang was a visionary who attempted sweeping reforms that could have fundamentally altered the course of Chinese history. His ambitious agenda included the abolition of slavery, land redistribution to peasants, and the implementation of policies deeply rooted in Confucian ideals. However, these reforms were met with fierce resistance from noble families and the Liu clan, the founding family of the Han dynasty. Adding to the internal strife were external pressures, including a persistent war with the nomadic Xiongnu and a series of natural disasters. These challenges culminated in a bitter civil war between Wang Mang's supporters and those advocating for the restoration of the Han dynasty. Wang Mang was ultimately killed in 23 CE, and the Han dynasty was reinstated. Had Wang Mang's government survived, he might have been hailed as one of the greatest reformers in ancient Chinese history. During this period, the Silk Road became an increasingly lucrative venture for China. The Han dynasty later expanded westward to secure this vital trade route, further solidifying its economic and geopolitical influence. One of the most sought-after exports was Chinese silk, a luxury item that became a symbol of wealth and status, especially in the Roman Empire. The demand for Chinese silk was so high that it led to a trade imbalance between Rome and China, with the Han dynasty accumulating great wealth from these transactions. Interestingly, the popularity of Chinese silk, particularly among Roman women, became a point of concern for the Roman Senate. Attempts were made to ban the use of silk, citing both economic reasons and moral concerns about the fabric's sheer quality. However, these bans were largely ineffective, and the allure of East Asian silk proved too strong to resist. The use of silk in Rome continued, underscoring the interconnectedness of these ancient civilizations and the limitations of political authority in curbing consumer desires. Technological advancements were also abundant, including the invention of papermaking and an early seismometer capable of detecting earthquakes. Additionally, by the 110 SBCE, China had annexed territories that now constitute northern Korea and northern Vietnam, extending its dominion beyond its older borders. In a brief detour even further east, let's delve deeper into Japan, which was in its Yayoi period. Chinese records from 57 CE mention Japan, indicating some level of interaction or awareness between the two civilizations. However, it's crucial to note that Japan was still largely tribal and not yet unified at this time, a stark contrast to the centralized governance seen in China. Chinese observers noted some intriguing cultural practices among the ancient Japanese. They were often adorned with tattoos, a custom that may have had spiritual or social significance. The ancient Japanese were also known for their frequent internecine conflicts, perhaps a reflection of the tribal nature of society at the time. One particularly captivating observation was the Japanese practice of consuming raw fish in shrines. This ritualistic consumption could very well be the nascent form of what we now know as sushi, a culinary tradition that has since become synonymous with Japanese culture. As we traverse the globe, let's not overlook Oceania, a region comprising thousands of islands scattered across the Pacific Ocean. Around the year 0 CE, the Austronesian-speaking peoples had already made remarkable voyages to settle in various parts of Melanesia, including the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and New Caledonia. Importantly, it's worth noting that these oceanic societies were isolated from the civilizations of Eurasia and the Americas, with no known interactions between them at this time. These early oceanic societies were primarily maritime cultures, relying on the sea for sustenance and trade. Their navigational skills were extraordinary, using complex techniques that involved reading the stars, ocean currents, and even bird behavior to find their way across vast oceanic distances. Despite their isolation from the larger continents, their achievements in navigation and sustainable living were no less remarkable. These early settlers had a deep spiritual connection to the land and sea, which was reflected in their oral traditions, art, and rituals. Their societies were organized into clans or extended families, often led by a chief or a council of elders. While they may have been separated from the civilizations of Eurasia and the Americas, their unique ways of adapting to and thriving in their environments offer us valuable insights into the diverse tapestry of human experience around the world. Going south, the Australian Aborigines were mostly isolated from the rest of the world. However, the introduction of the dingo dog around 4,000 years ago suggests some limited contact with Southeast Asia. Meanwhile, New Zealand was still uninhabited at this point, but it was home to unique and large bird species not found anywhere else in the world, including Haast's eagle and the moa, which were larger than any birds found today. As we wrap up our global journey, let's venture to one of the most extreme environments on Earth, the Arctic. Here, we'll focus on two distinct regions, Siberia and North America, each home to unique indigenous cultures that had adapted to their harsh surroundings. Starting in the western part of Siberia in the Ob River Basin, the Nenets were known for their reindeer herding, which was both their sustenance and their source of clothing. Interestingly, there is evidence that the Nenets bred dogs specifically for herding reindeer, and these dogs are considered to be the ancestors of modern Samoyeds. Moving eastward, we encounter the Chukchi, who primarily resided in the far northeast of Siberia on a peninsula that is named after them. The Chukchi community was divided between those who lived by the sea and engaged in sea mammal hunting and those who lived inland and focused on reindeer herding. Across the ocean in North America, the Thule culture, ancestors of the modern Inuit, lived around the Bering Sea in northern Alaska. They were skilled whale hunters and used advanced harpoon technology. Their semi-subterranean homes, known as karmak, were ingeniously adapted to the seasons. Tents made of animal skins in the summer, sod in the fall, and snow bricks in the winter, providing insulation against the harsh Arctic climate. Further east, in regions spanning Nunavut, Greenland, and Labrador, the Dorset culture had a different focus. They were more oriented toward hunting seals and smaller game. One of their unique hunting techniques involved creating holes in the sea ice to catch seals. They would patiently wait by the hole, harpoon at the ready, to strike when a seal came up for air. The Dorset are also renowned for their intricate bone and ivory carvings. A remarkable example of their artistry is the QAJARTALIK petroglyphs, where over 150 faces are carved into soapstone. This is the northernmost example of prehistoric rock art in North America. Both the Siberian and North American Arctic communities, from the Nenets and Chukchi to the Thule and Dorset, had developed specialized tools and hunting techniques to survive in an environment where most resources were scarce. While these communities were isolated from the major civilizations of Eurasia and the Americas, their unique adaptations offer a compelling glimpse into the sheer diversity of human ingenuity and resilience. As we conclude our journey through the world of Zero CE, one striking theme emerges: the delicate balance between interconnectedness and isolation among ancient civilizations. On one hand, we've seen the intricate web of trade routes, like the Silk Road, that linked empires as distant as Rome and China. The allure of Chinese silk in Roman society and the ensuing trade imbalance is a testament to how interconnected some parts of the world had become. Similarly, the Indian Ocean trade network connected Africa, Arabia, and South Asia, allowing for the exchange of goods and ideas. On the other hand, we've also explored civilizations that remained remarkably isolated due to geographical barriers or other factors. The indigenous peoples of the Arctic and Oceania, for example, developed unique ways of life that were largely independent of the major Eurasian and American civilizations. Their isolation did not make their contributions to human ingenuity and resilience any less significant. It simply underscores the diverse ways in which human societies adapted to their environments. So, what might the world have looked like if there had been more or less interaction between these civilizations? Would the isolated communities of Oceania have developed differently if they had been part of larger trade networks? What new innovations might have emerged from greater cultural exchange? These are questions that historians can only speculate about, but they offer intriguing avenues for further exploration. Thank you all for joining me on this captivating journey through the world of Zero CE. I hope you've enjoyed exploring the diverse landscapes of human history as much as I have. If this video has piqued your interest and you'd like to delve deeper into the stories of these ancient civilizations, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Your support enables me to create more videos that uncover the complexities and wonders of our shared past. If you have any thoughts or questions about today's topic or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think and what you're curious to learn more about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop learning.